Welcome back, guys, to the highlights of round number 3 of the Mitropa Cup. We are once again starting quickly with the results of round number 3, and then we're going to head on to some of the highlights. I have, I think, 2 nice tactics which happened or which could have happened, and 1 interesting opening which was played in the Caro-Kann, which I want to show you guys. But first of all, let's start with some of the results from round number 3. Let's start with the open section. Switzerland was able to win against Slovakia on the last board. That was actually also a pretty nice game from White. I was also thinking of including that, but it was a pretty long one and there were so many interesting moments to point out. But well done from White. That was a really nice model game and some Caro-Kann French structures. So in case you're curious, you can definitely check that out. Then Italy was able to beat Croatia. I would say not a big surprise, at least looking at the ratings of the 2 teams. Then the Czech Republic was able to win against Slovenia. Okay, that was kind of a level match. We are going to have a look at the game of board number 1 there, because there was one interesting moment. Then France is able to continue the winning streak with 3-1 against Germany, where we are also going to have a look at actually 2 games from that match, board number 1 and board number 2. And finally, Austria was able to play 2-2 against Hungary. Actually, historically speaking, usually Austria is struggling quite a bit against Hungary, at least from my own experience. I remember we played in 2 Olympiads against each other where I was there. The first one in Chennai in 2020. Was it 2022? I think it was in 2023 in Chennai, where Hungary actually beat us 4-0. And then the one after that in Budapest, where we played against them, I think we lost 2.5 because I completely got crushed by Benjamin Gledera on the last board. And also, I think in the Mitropa Cups, our score against them were not always that great, but definitely better than in the Olympiad. Anyway, they were able to play 2-2. Lukas Dotzer continuing his good form and was able to win against the very solid grandmaster Laszlo Gonda. And now I'm thinking, actually, if it may be possible for Lukas to make a GM norm, because I was not expecting Gonda to play at all, because I thought he was more of a coach and a reserve player. I don't know how it worked there. Maybe they asked him to play a game because then he will get 3 grandmasters, or if he just some of the other players were not feeling well. But anyway, it's good news for Lukas, because now with 3 out of 3. Of course, the tournament is still long, but now at least he's most likely going to have 3 grandmasters, which if Gonda didn't play, I don't think there would have been any chance for Lukas to make a norm, which I think also would be his final norm. So I hope that he will not put too much pressure on himself, and if he doesn't, I think he will have good chances to fulfill his 3rd norm. Anyway, board number 2 and board number 3 ended in a draw. It could have also gone entirely differently, especially in board number 2 for us. And on the final board, I think it was a fair result because Black, Florentin Stickler, was in trouble from the beginning of the game. Of course, also Dotzer's game could have gone entirely different. It was incredibly complicated, and both players were in time trouble after move 20 or so, but at the end, he was able to prevail, which of course was also very good for the team. Now let's head on to the women's section. Switzerland continues winning, or starts winning again, because in the previous round they actually lost to Austria with 3-1. Croatia against Italy. Italy won 3-1. Slovenia, Czech Republic ended with 2-2. As you can see, France against Germany. Actually, a bit of a surprising result that Germany was able to win. Considering the rating difference, and quite a big setup, I would say, is that Austria was able to draw their match against Ukraine with 2-2. Also that, I mean, it could have gone differently, but our board number 1 played a nice game and actually won without that many problems against a very experienced and solid opponent, Ina Gaponenko. Board number 2 was quite crazy in that round. There we had a bit of luck, but on the other hand, on board number 3, we also had some chances. not to lose. So overall, it was a fair match, and Yasmin Denislava, our board number 1, is playing really good so far. Now let's have a look at what I wanted to show you guys. First of all, we are starting with the game between France and Germany on board number 1. Let me flip the board here. Which was an interesting opening idea from what I could tell. I briefly checked what they did here. Mario Stoya is a big Caro-Kann player. I don't think that he plays much apart from that. So usually it pays off to follow him there, because usually he's quite well prepared when it comes to his Caro-Kann lines. And his opponent went for this line with h4, h5, bishop d3, which is quite a big line. There's also c4 here, which is quite theoretical. In the morning, while I checked this game, I came across this quite tricky line here with knight a6, which, in case any of you are Caro-Kann players, you can try this for sure, because it's actually not so easy for white. They have to go for a3 here. Okay, maybe that's not too difficult to understand, otherwise knight b4 is unpleasant, but after that it also goes on. There are only like 5 games or so here, so this is kind of a fresh direction which black can go for. Anyway, after bishop d3, how all of the games are basically going is bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and now there's queen a5 check or e6 with a lot of theory, but black went for the sideline queen d7, and I thought that was quite interesting. The idea is that, well, we are not taking and not activating white's queen, so therefore if white takes on f5, then our queen gets activated, and actually to a pretty nice square. If knight f3 at some point, maybe queen g4 could also come, and this is definitely not too bad. White went for the move knight f3, which is quite logical. Now bishop g4 happened, so we are losing some time here, but at the same time this pin is a little bit uncomfortable for white. Then e6, and white did react quite well here. I'm not so sure that everyone is going to find that. This bishop e3, knight e2 was pretty good, but still the position did remain playable. In the end, the game ended in a draw. But usually black then wants to go for some c5, which he also did in the game, and it was definitely playable. From what I could see, I think that the probably most critical move in the position is c3. After which, now you should take on d3, and then go for e6. Maybe there's also queen g4 here, which I didn't look at, but I think it forces white to go king f1. I mean, maybe g3 there is also possible. But I looked at e6 quickly, and now an important move for white is this move bishop e3, which is also maybe not the easiest move for white to play, because they want to stop c5. Otherwise, if white goes for some knight e2 or knight f3, I think that black should be completely fine. Just c5, then knight c6, knight d7, knight f5, and it leads to a very playable Caro-Kann type of position, I would say. So bishop e3 is important, and then it was not so clear to me how black should continue. Probably queen c7 was not a bad idea. You could maybe also put the knight to f5 first. I don't think it really changes the whole aspect of the position that it should be playable. But here white is definitely fighting for some advantage, I think, with the c3, bishop e3, because it's not going to be so easy to get c5. But I mean, it should be manageable. Like queen c7 and probably c5 is going to come, but also now black is losing a bit of time with the queen. Anyway, I thought that was some interesting development, and I did see queen d7 before, but never really had a closer look at it. Now I did, and it does seem like a very playable system from the black side. All right, so let's move on to the game Marius Fromm against Loïc Travadon, also from the match Germany against France. And it was a crazy game until here. Also, it was some Sicilian Rossolimo it was, with knight f6 on the third move. And here black committed a big blunder with the move b6, which white actually didn't see. It is a very nice tactic. If you want to try to solve it by yourself, please feel free to stop the video. It really helps to look at the forcing candidate moves here. And it is a completely unexpected tactical idea. In the game, white played the move queen e3, and now it was around equal. Still some chances for both sides in the rest of the game, but eventually the game did end in a draw. But white could have actually won here with a move knight e5. Now, of course, it is a fork, but black can still take. So what is actually the idea now? The idea is that now white has queen f3 check. And if the king goes to g8, there is knight f6, which picks up the queen at c6. And if black plays knight f4, then there's knight g5. And on the next move, white can also pick up the queen at c6. So that's a very unexpected tactical idea, which we don't see that often. But I thought this was nice sharing. So therefore, b6 was a big blunder because then the queen on c6 is not protected anymore. So I would assume something like maybe rook d8 could be a better move, after which the position is very unbalanced, but probably not worse for black because the knight on e6 is keeping everything protected. The bishop on c8 is protecting it. But of course, black's pieces are also a bit passive, but also black has the bishop pair. All right, so let's go to the final bit of round number 3, which I wanted to show you. Game between Lavrencic and Jan Rubeš, who is also playing for my Czech team in the Czech Extra League. And this was some very forcing, or not forcing, but very sharp bishop g5 Italian. And white got a very promising position early on, but here he made a big mistake with the move king h3. I think that most other moves were just leading to basically a strategically winning position. Like I think what I looked at was rook d8, rook d8, rook b1. Maybe also in this specific case, king h3 would be possible. But for example, something like this, at some point, maybe white can take here. I mean, this is kind of the next idea. And then rook b7 will come. And rook d2 is probably not really doing much. I mean, there is rook f2, but I don't know. For example, queen h5. Even with some ideas to play queen g6, should be pretty bad for black. White played king h3, which in principle is not a bad move because he's avoiding queen g4 for now. The king does look like it's on a better square on the third rank because it's never running into checks on the second rank. But it did allow black quite a nice resource, which immediately solves all of black's problems. Again, if you want to try to see it by yourself, let me flip the board. You can stop the video now. The move which was played in the game was the move bishop to f2. And now the problem is that white cannot take on f2 because then black is even winning because there's a double attack on the king and the rook. So what happened in the game is white took on d8, but now there's this move, queen takes g3 check, take, again with check, king h2, and then bishop takes e1. And after rook d7, white just offered a draw because now with no queens on the board, also no remaining g-pawn for white, the position is a draw, and c3 is also hanging. So with opposite color bishops on the board, nothing much should happen here. All right, so those were my highlights of round number 3. I think there were, like, those two tactical ideas were nice. Caro-Kann I liked quite a lot. And yeah, that was it for now. Round number 4 is starting pretty soon. I think the rounds usually start at 2 p.m. if I'm informed correctly. So you can follow the games live. I'll put the link in the description once again. And apart from that, I'll be back for the highlights of round number 4. So thank you for watching and see you guys then.